September 19th, 1356, near Poitiers, France. Outside of a forest, 6,000 Englishmen defended against 14,000 French knights. This is the Battle of Poitiers. Welcome back to the series that I'm doing on the Hundred Years' War. Today we're covering the Battle of Poitiers. In the last episode, we were talking about the Siege of Calais and also the Black Death. What happened after that was an 8 years truce. Now, during this time, the King of France actually died, and he was succeeded by John II. And this is when we get to dive into the story of the Battle of Poitiers. The Battle of Poitiers occurred on September 19th, 1356, during the second phase of the Hundred Years' War, which began in 1337 when Edward III of England claimed the French throne, challenging the Valois dynasty. By 1356, England controlled Gascony and parts of northern France, but this sustained warfare strained both economies. English strategy relied on chevauchée, which, if I'm saying that correctly, is large-scale raids designed to devastate the French countryside, disrupt supply lines, and force economic collapse rather than territorial conquest. You see, France, much bigger than England, France is very large, so holding all that territory, you have to have troops stay there, and they have to watch over the population. You have to have a lot of administrative duties going on at that time, so that wasn't the English's, plan. Their plan was to basically book it to the throne and to take over France by military conquest. In August 1356, Edward, the Black Prince of Wales, led 6,000 to 12,000, not too sure on the numbers still to this day, Anglo-Gascon troops from Bordeaux on one of the war's most destructive chevauchées. Marching in parallel columns, they burned over 500 settlements, slaughtered livestock, and torched crops across the Armagnac and central France, reducing King John II's tax revenue and humiliating his military reputation. The prince aimed to link with the Duke of Lancaster's army from Normandy, but John II positioned forces at Chartres to block this, forcing the English south. King John II, succeeding Philip VI in 1350, commanded 14,000 to 40,000 troops, including heavy cavalry, infantry, crossbowmen, and elite nobles like the Order of the Star, who vowed never to retreat. Outnumbering the English 2 to 3, John pursued aggressively, overtaking them near Poitiers on September 18th. A French cardinal tried to mediate terms with the Black Prince, but this failed. The Black Prince offered his plunder and a 7-year truce, but John demanded the prince's surrender. Both sides fortified. The English dug trenches and barricades with wagons, and the French debated starving them out, but opted for assault due to the numerical superiority. The site of this battle lays about 5 to 7 miles south of Poitiers, anchored on the forest of Nalois, northern edge, with hedgerows, vineyards, and slopes favoring defense. The Black Prince positioned longbowmen, around 2,000 to 3,000 strong, on the flanks, dismounted men-at-arms in the center, and a small cavalry reserve hidden. Longbows with a range of around 250 to 300 yards and armor-piercing bodkin points outranged French crossbowmen and enabled rapid-fire volleys, around 10 to 12 arrows per minute. At dawn on September 19th, we see the first phase of this battle. 2 French marshals, Clermont and Audrehem, led 300 German knights in a dismounted, hopeless charge down the main road into the English center. English archers unleashed arrow storms, felling many at range. Survivors breached the hedgerow gap, but were surrounded by dismounted men-at-arms and slaughtered or captured. Clermont died, shattering the French morale early. Phase 2 of the battle is the Dauphin assault. The Dauphin larger division advanced up the slope under arrow fire, nearly breaking the English line in fierce close combat. English reserves counterattacked on the flank, forcing retreat as troops were exhausted. Archers, low on arrows, scavenged from the falling foes to sustain their fire. Literally just see the archers of the English running out to all the dead bodies, pulling out their arrows and running back to cover just so they can replenish, because this is the first out of 4 assaults, so they needed this. Phase 3 of the battle is very, very interesting. So this is when we see the King of France actually advance. And so the Duc d'Orléans division, witnessing prior failures, fled intact, triggering a general rout. Then John II, with his elite third battle, which is like his third grouping of troops, including crossbowmen, infantry, personal guard, and 2,000 knights. And remember, knights back in the day, it's not like, you know, when you're playing a video game, it's like, I choose a knight or something. Like, these knights are few and far between in these large armies, right? These are noblemen. These are men who usually have seen some sort of combat, and have very nice and, you know, shiny armor and the best weapons. So he has 2,000 of these, plus his personal guard, plus his infantry, which, you know, those are more your, like, men-at-arms and stuff, and his crossbowmen. So crossbow is very technologically advanced at the time, and I'm pretty sure still in this battle he had the mercenary crossbowmen, which were very well known. He also advanced with a battle axe, leading the Oriflamme, which I believe I'm saying that correct. This is a battle axe and a banner that is carried into battle when the French king goes into battle. So at this point, the archers exhausted ammunition. On the English side, the archers were exhausted with their ammunition, and they switched to swords and knives in melee. Then, this is when the battle really switches up. So that hidden reserve force that the Black Prince had, again, just another battle showing how cool and how badass the Black Prince of Wales is. Not just his name is really cool, but everything he's done in history and in the 100 Years' War up to this point, super cool. Black Prince, having hidden that cavalry reserve force, charges and flanks the French rear, while the infantry and the archers were pressed frontally with brutal hand-to-hand combat. The English came in charging, and actually what they did is they prioritized captures over kills. So French elites, including the constable, both marshals, 13 counts, 5 viscounts, 21 barons, and an archbishop, fell or surrendered. The Oriflamme bearer died, the banner was captured. An isolated John II surrendered his glove to Denis de Mogbec, accompanied by his 14-year-old son Philip. So this is humiliating for the French, and this is the first time that we see high royalty captured. This is the King of France. This is what this war is about. This war is about the English claiming the French throne and basically demanding the French throne. You know, think about Game of Thrones, the Iron Throne. There's, you know, France at this point in history is a very comparable to, you know, the King's Landing, basically. You know, Paris, very comparable to King's Landing in Game of Thrones. And this Iron Throne, this throne coveted by the English, who they believe they have it, you know, they are owed it by birthright, they now capture the king. And the English losses around 1,000 dead out of 6,000 to 12,000, and the French 2,500 dead, 2,600 captured, including King John, out of their 14,000 to 40,000. Just crazy numbers, and I know the ranges are crazy, like 6,000 to 12,000 versus 14,000 to 40,000. Crazy numbers, but again, at this point, when we look back at history, it's very hard to be accurate with the numbers. So I forget who said it, but I remember someone said that Herodotus was the first Hollywood screenwriter because he always just exaggerated the numbers. He told the history correctly, but the numbers were always crazy. It would be like 5 Greeks versus like 10,000 Persians. Just yeah, crazy, crazy numbers. But this this is a massacre at Poitiers. And again, we see another significant defeat of the French. So at the start of the war, we had the Battle of Crécy, where the French were basically humiliated. Then we had the Siege of Calais, where the English won again, and the French were kind of humiliated again. And then we see the English just raiding through the French countryside, humiliating the French again. And now at the Battle of Poitiers, we see the English winning and capturing the king. Poitiers echoed Crécy, which is the Battle of Crécy, which is 1346, proving longbow men once again their dominance is so important, and defensive tactics over French chivalric charges. It forced the 1360 Treaty of Breteuil. England gained Aquitaine, 25% of France, by the way. That's how large Aquitaine, the region, is. Calais, and other territories. John ransomed for 3 million gold, paid in installments, and a 2-year truce followed, but France resumed the war in 1369, reclaiming most lands by 1453. It's a large gap in time, and we're going to be covering a lot of that. But Poitiers highlighted the war's shift toward professional armies, economic warfare, ransom economies, and prolonging the conflict for generations. So, this is just another crazy event going on in the 100 Years' War. And again, the 100 Years' War was not 100 years, it lasted 116. But this again just shows us that like I said in the first episode, it looks like the English are winning in like a landslide victory. Again, that changes later on. But battle after battle, win after win, the English are steamrolling France right now. And we see a lot of really prominent figures arise, and one of the biggest ones is the Black Prince of Wales, which I believe that will be the next episode in the series, covering the Black Prince of Wales, his life, his achievements, and his sad death. Never becoming King of England, only ever a prince. But that is for another time. I hope you enjoyed this little coverage that I did of the Battle of Poitiers. I'm not going into military history and strategy, so I won't be, I'm not going to make a hour-long video on this one battle and showing you all the different tactics that they use. Basically, another crazy defeat for the French. Humiliating defeat, you might say, for the French. You can definitely say another humiliating defeat for the French. And really going into the 100 Years' War, it looks like the French are going to lose. It is crazy when you look at it and it's like, why did the English ransom the King of France when they could have, just killed him and then just gone right through for the throne? But this is a time of honor. This is a time of this is a very different time. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed this coverage, and I hope you enjoyed listening to my voice. And I hope you tune in next week, or in a few days, for the little video I'm doing on the Black Prince of Wales. And I'll continue to make some videos on this epic 100 Years' War, and you'll see who wins shortly. Or you can look it up on Google and see who wins. But don't spoil it for yourself. That's not fun. Anyways, hope you enjoyed this. Thank you very much for listening or watching. And please like, comment, and subscribe. That means a lot to me. And yeah, talk to you soon.